Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing well. I did want to get back into my book, Fellowship of Suffering, which deals with trauma and how we can heal and cope with the different wounds that we've received psychologically throughout our lives today. And more specifically, I wanted to talk about how our relationship with God can bring about deeper healing, both within our psyche as well as in our spiritual lives. So, predominantly, how God is going to do this is through the avenue of prayer. And unfortunately, because of some misconceptions in our culture, when I say that, a lot of people might have a lot of false ideas about where I'm going to go with this. So a lot of people in our culture see God not really as a personal being that they could get to know and draw closer to. They instead see him as kind of like a distant politician figure, or they see him as like a cosmic genie, meaning either they see him as this distant king who lives out in the cosmos somewhere that you're trying your best to get interested in your life. And so when I say healing through prayer, what they think I'm about to tell them is I'm about to tell them a different technique, almost like a better way to write your congressman so that you can get God's attention and get his blessing in your life. Other people, if they see God as more of like a cosmic genie, what they think I'm about to say is they think I'm about to tell them different religious techniques to be able to, once again, get God's attention and get something from him. So maybe I'm going to teach you how to increase your faith or how to build a vision board or something like that to be able to get whatever you want from God, because otherwise he wouldn't do it. But that's not the God that we see in the Bible. The God that we see in the Bible is not predominantly interested in blessing our physical lives, even though he wants to. He's predominantly interested in having a real, genuine relationship with him. And if you treat prayer as merely a time of asking God for things, you're never going to get that. So let me use a really quick example to help you understand this. So imagine that you were a very wealthy, rich politician of some sort. Maybe you were a king of some sort. And you wanted a genuine relationship with somebody. Now, this person is impoverished. They don't have many resources, but they say they want a relationship with you. And because you love and care for them, you want to bless them. You want to help them out. You want to meet their felt needs. But what you find out is that the only time this person ever wants to talk to you is if they want something from you. And if you don't do for them exactly what they want in exactly the way they want and at exactly the timing that they want, they stop talking to you. They in fact get mad at you for not doing what they wanted, and they pull away from you. Now, when you feel used in a relationship like that, when you feel like this person isn't actually interested in you, they just want your stuff, and yet the majority of us treat God that way. We treat God as if he is some sort of a vending machine, that we just want things from him. Or to put it another way, we don't want God, we want what God can offer us. That's incredibly selfish, and it is a user mentality, and it's not something that is going to be beneficial for you. So, am I saying that we should never ask God for healing psychologically? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. In fact, the Bible encourages us over and over again to cast our cares upon God because he cares about us. We want to ask God for things. But it doesn't mean that God is always going to answer in the way that we think. He's not always going to say yes. We have to be willing to submit to God and accept from his hand what he has for us because we trust that he knows best. So in my life, I've asked for healings from my trauma and from the various things that I struggle with, and God hasn't said yes to those requests. He said no. Instead, what God has done for me is he has, through my prayer life and through my need for him, he has taught me how to grow more intimate with him than I ever have been before. So in other words, because of what God has left in my life, the struggles and the issues that God has left in my life, it has caused me to have to go back to him, to have to draw closer to him, to have to learn how to communicate with him better so that I can get more of him, which I've learned is a far greater blessing than him merely healing my physical issues. Now, that doesn't mean that God and a relationship with God has not provided greater healing in my life, because it has. It just hasn't done it in the way that I thought. I thought God was just going to snap his fingers and heal me. That's not what he did. Instead, through a relationship with him, God has taught me how to process the things that I've gone through and to deal with them in a practical way. So when I've come to God and I've been sad and depressed, God has taught me how to experience comfort through a relationship with him, and therefore experience comfort in my relationships with others as well, which again is a far greater miracle than God just simply taking away my sadness. When I've been stressed out and anxious, God has taught me how to experience peace in those times, not to be disconcerted and reckless, but instead to experience fear, but to be able to experience courage on top of that and peace within it, which is again far greater. When I'm struggling with anger, instead of God just taking away my anger, God instead helps me to process that anger and to forgive the people that have been so rude and mean to me in my life, and to experience his security and his justice in a new way, in a fresh way that provides me with increased amounts of peace and mental stability. And it also helps me to receive forgiveness from God to deal with my great amounts of guilt and regret. In other words, God has helped me to be able to process all of my emotions in a way that brings me closer to him as well as to my neighbor, which is again way, way better than God just simply taking away my mental problems. Now, this process is a process. It is one that you're going to start now and you're going to continue for the rest of your life. It will never be truly over, but you're going to see great amounts of results from it. You're going to see growth every day that you put into this, because again, it's not about putting into a healing technique, but instead it's about putting into a person. And God is far worth it. So, as we go through this idea of prayer, don't expect me to give you a technique. Don't expect me to give you a methodology. Instead, be trying to think about this. Be trying to look at prayer from a different perspective, and maybe try to look at it from the side of, I want to deepen my relationship with God because he is worthy whether I'm healed or not. I want to draw closer to him no matter what. If that's the perspective you come at this with, you're going to find a lot of fruit from it. So God will slowly and gently help you work through all the issues of your heart and all the issues of your mind and past. So look forward to future videos where I'm going to talk about more specifically how to do this with the various emotions that we have. But if you want a little bit of reading right now, try to read through the Psalms. Just go through those Psalms and see how these men and women of God really process their emotions before the Lord and really deal with them in a practical way. It's not just them asking for things. It really is a deep and an intimate thing that they have with God, and that's amazing. So look forward to those videos in the future. Hey, this is Peter Martin, and if you've just finished this video, that means that you've watched one in a longer playlist on my new book called Fellowship of Suffering. This book deals with trauma and PTSD and how these things impact all of us. So if you've liked this video, please give it a like, please subscribe to my channel, and look forward to more content.